Everyone, this is God Talk with Seer Prophetess Ann, and I'm reporting today, October 22nd, 2020, about some statistics in the world and what God's heart is saying and what He's verbally told me. So, according to the world population in 2020, up until now, there is 7.7 billion people living around the world. Okay, 821 million people are starving. Okay, there is a vast food shortage, and the locusts have somewhat to do with that. The locusts, and you can read about that in the book of Revelation, chapter 9, where it states that locusts will be let out of the bottomless pit and they will destroy the food crops, and that's what we're seeing. So there's 1/4 of the food crops are dead. So we need to be giving. And then in 2019, 34 million people lived in poverty in America, and they're earning less than $25,000 a year, including more than 10 million children. There is 896,047 people living in San Francisco. And I'm talking about San Francisco now because they're having a great homeless epidemic and poverty there. So I want to get the word out to God's little helpers that they can provide the needs for the people. And San Francisco has a huge issue with 1 out of 10 people going hungry. San Francisco was one of the world's most prosperous cities. It is now a haven for addiction, crime, and violence. Who is responsible for the city's political class creating a regime of cruelty and inequality? So is someone angry? Well, in 2004, same-sex marriage took place, and Mr. Gavin Newsom got a bill passed that in favor of abortion. And so there's one responsible party, and that we know that that's breaking the Edenic covenant that God has with man and woman, which is an agreement, an eternal agreement that God said to man and woman, procreate and subdue the land, rule over the land, and anything other than that is unacceptable to God. So also, Mr. Gavin Newsom even got a bill passed recently here in Los Angeles to offer medical abortion in universities. So you can now have a medical abortion at a university, and he is making that they have to have it on campus. So also that will be in 2023, and God says don't play, Gavin Newsom. So Gavin Newsom is in favor for abortion, and he has even invited people from all over the United States that is not able to have an abortion in their cities to come to California, his state, and have an abortion. Well, Gavin Newsom, now that you're requiring it of us that medical abortion services be at public state universities starting in 2023 in the middle of an apocalypse, which is an unveiling of all things, the judgment of God. If you would just please change your hospitality to helping the veterans in California. There's over 10,980 veterans that are homeless in California. And if you would just please heed this message to turn away from this bill that you've passed and be of service to God, I know that maybe then things will be better here in California. Also, let's talk a little bit about gangs in America. There's an average of 16.3 gang-related crimes per day in America from January 1st, 2019 to June 2019. And that is daily. Chicago has more gang members than any other city in the USA. Chicago has 150,000 gang members. Thanks to Trump's plea to the American people about gang violence and domestic terrorism on the land, we have had 464 members of MS-13 apprehended in the USA in December of 2019. So that's a good job. And that's the gang that carries the machetes around. Okay, so thank you to Mr. Trump for that. Okay, we're going to go to the youth in a gang. How many youth are in a gang? Over 1 million USA youth are in a gang. 20,000 different gangs in the USA. In 1980, the numbers were lower. 100,000 members in 1980. Right now, we are living in the end times, folks. Now we've gone up to 1 million people, young people, in a gang, compared to that 100,000 in 1980. I was born in 1981 and never heard of a gang until in 2016 when one attacked me in Long Beach, and that's another video I made. So check out that other video on my other site, Sister Ann End Time Prophecy. Now, LA's murder rate is up 25% above last year. There was 261 homicides just in the city of Los Angeles, and it has moms on neighborhood watch. So that's good that the moms have prevailed over the enemy and been watching. And I pray that they will pray too while they're watching. Some 100 murders in 2020 have taken place in South LA already. And we're not even at the end of the year. Did you know that intervention workers who visit shooting victims in the ER directly after attacks from gangs stop a retaliatory attack? This is what the NBC of Los Angeles reported October 15th, 2020. So that is good. If we can get them to intercede and talk to these gang members and tell them there's a better way through Jesus, that's best. Police aggression has also been noted by LA community complaints that police were very aggressive in investigating people of suspicious gang activity, such as more than a dozen Metro officers are suspected of filing falsified interview reports that labeled innocent people as gang members in police databases. So 6 police from LAPD are facing criminal charges, and another 13 are under investigation because this is this year because they have been aggressive when the community complains. They investigate people that have nothing to do with the gang, and it draws attention, and they don't want to be unlawfully searched. That goes against the amendment. So I do pray that these police will know their boundaries. And we do pray for their protection, but God is telling me now they need to go to their knees and pray. So hear God, police, LAPD, and all police in California. Who's responsible for these gangs forming? Well, according to Gotham Gazette, which published an article called "The Real Gangs of New York 2019." The mayor of New York City proposed a $20 million cut in funding for youth services. So that would be an alternative to gang violence. But he cut the money on that. So gang movies also had a negative influence on society. From 1961, West Side Story, The Cross and Switchblade in 1971, to Johnny Depp's Seducing Many with the movie Blow. Remember that one? It was a true-based film, but it glorified that gangster George Jung. And Johnny Depp, I pray that he turn away from his sin as well. And America has been seduced. seduced, attractive towards evil, glorified that which is evil. And we've all had a part in bringing this evil on our land, right into our homes. 750,000 gang members are in 28,000 gangs operating in the USA. The average age ranging 18 to 25 years old, with the average gang member 17 years old. That's so many gang members across the USA. In New York City, gang members increased in the past year from 11,000 to 15,000 people right now. The books also influence gang activity, such as Dragons. Then you've heard the game that the youth are playing, Dragon Ball Z, and Hocus Pocus. And then we have had Darwin's Theory of Evolution, amongst a long list of occultic books that you can see in children's bookstores now. And Kobe Bryant was responsible for a few of them. Epicroft was one of them. So this is completely forbidden by the law in Deuteronomy and Leviticus. And God says, this is God's words, God says they revel. Okay, they enjoy a noisy, boisterous party spirit, drinking and dancing loud, and self-glory and self-pleasure. They're enjoying, reveling in drunkenness and party atmosphere. This is another contribution that have caused these terrifying gangs across the USA and also across the world. They have chose broken cisterns, saith the Lord. Jeremiah chapter 2 verse 13. For my people have committed two evils. They have forsaken me, the fountain of living water, and hewed out cisterns, broken cisterns, that can hold no water. Meaning they have sought after things and people that are vessels that are depleted of the Holy Spirit, and fallen angels, demons, principalities that can hold no Holy Spirit, the unforgiven ones. Please seek Christ's forgiveness. Now, the Rockefellers are also responsible. The Rockefeller laws were passed in 1973. Governor Nelson Rockefeller, then he was New York State Governor, he made a mandatory 15-year to life sentence for possession of more than 4 or sale of more than 2 ounces of cocaine or heroin. Sounds like he did the right thing, but in actuality, there was no programs for these they could be one-time offenders, and they were given that sentence. So say you were, a one-time offense, and you would be going to jail for possible life, 15 years to life. Harsh. However, those laws now, 28 years later, the Rockefeller laws have been used. They have failed to prevent New York City from reaching violent crime rates. Now they're at a record high level, and still these Rockefeller laws are being used. They have not been cast down. So more than half of the 21,000 prisoners incarcerated under the Rockefellers law are nonviolent, and they are Black and Latino. So we can call out a prayer to release the nonviolent offenders and make sure that they get the rehabilitation on the outside that they need. Now, the current governor in New York is talking about people getting back to work and reopening the city of New York after the COVID. However, he did not make a plea to end violence he did after George Floyd's death. That's what it took. He did not make a plea prior to that to end late-term abortion or to end violence. But it took a death of the Black George Floyd's young black man. It took that death to get this man to make a plea to end the violence. This man, Cuomo, is a Democrat. He voted for and oversaw same-sex marriage, and not only agrees but introduced it in New York in 2011. And he passed the New York state law that made same-sex marriage legal. So he's responsible somewhat as well. Governor Cuomo is a crook. He tried to fool all the people. By the first day he got in office, he acted so righteous by signing an executive order which prohibits governors of New York from receiving donations. So he said he wasn't going to receive any donations. But then after investigation was done by the New York Times, that revealed that Cuomo had collected $890,000 money on top of collecting $1.3 million from investors, appointees, and even children. Okay, so he got caught there, but he's still in office. His evil, along with the crime rate at all-time high in New York City, has caused God to send Hurricane Sandy. God judges a land by the leaders, and if the leaders are bad, it's the people's responsibility to make a plea out to change them. Okay, how do we make this plea? God says a verbal voice to the people of what they need